Hey everybody, welcome back. Got a T4 and ISO8 recommendation video for the team that everybody seems to be building up right now, and that's the Symbiotes. We got one more Symbiote coming, but we're able to kind of look at that guy's kit, Anti-Venom, see how probably he's going to apply to this team, and give you recommendations that we feel pretty good about. So we'll go through the T4s for the entire team, and we'll also cover what we think are good for ISO8 for this team and these specific characters, with some comments from, obviously, Yeti and myself. So let's get into it.
Bring me WolverThor!
So as always, big huge shout out to Punk for doing the great graphic work on this thing. I'll go through this a little bit because we do have some new stuff on here. I do want to mention that we have a specific Patreon that does help funnel funds directly to Punk for all this good work. Trying to shout that out as much as we can to help get support for that, so that we can give the man some good support in what he does to make these great infographics that we all use. So if you want to help support the man, please come to the Patreon, link in the description below. So checking out this graphic here, again, it looks phenomenal. The newest thing in here, and we'll go over this in detail, is we're going to have ISO8s underneath the characters. All right, so each character will have 1, 2, in this case 3, potential recommendations that we're going to look for. And this particular team, the way it kind of shook out was Raid War, and you'll see a question mark, which I'll get into later. But, and it goes from left to right if there was a ranking. So you can see for Scream, we're talking about Raid, Healer, War, Striker, and question mark Fortifier. And then you can kind of go from left to right as normal. And then of course we've got our positioning, same concept from left to right. And then we get the T4 order down here with the damage ranks off to the side. So, and again, what these damage ranks are is for T4s that upgrade damage percentages. What I do is I take that damage percent, have a baseline, all these different types of thing, and rank it on all the other damage increases in the game. And so I put a number next to it here so you can kind of see like, oh wow, okay, Scream Ultimate, that's actually better ranked than, you know, Spider-Man Symbiote Ultimate. Now we've got it ranked higher because of some other things that happens to it and all that kind of thing, but it gives you an idea of what the bang for the buck is on that particular T4 upgrade if it's giving you damage. So, you know, like I said, we go through here, you know, I love these graphics, or they should be phone friendly so that you can instantly have them either saved on your phone or if you open up Discord, etc. And now what I'll do is I will go through each one of these and also talk about the ISO8 comments that Yeti and I have. So hopefully you enjoy the collaboration here between Punk, Yeti, and myself. And let's get into the detail. For those of you who have not seen these before, we've got a color coding system, and I'll kind of duck-ish out of the way. I can't get totally out of it. But it's red essential, orange really good, yellow solid. Got T4s to spares blue. Green is nothing else to use them on. And then there's a gray of just don't. Just straight up don't do it. Not worth it. So in this particular case, this is the first time ever, I think, that Yeti and myself have exactly the same rankings for everybody. So there's not a lot of difference there, which I think is good. So I'll be very curious to see if anybody out there has comments to put below in the YouTube, or to come to our Discord channels, which again, links in the description below, to say, hey, look, you guys are way off on this, or, you know, something along those lines. Because it's pretty atypical for Yeti and I to line up on everything. We get some lined up, but this one we had everyone. So anyway, the bottom, and probably one of the bigger changes from our last one, was Venom's passive. We both have this as a nothing else to use him on. This is when Venom heals for 5% of his overall HP on his turn. And it was, at the time, my comment was huge for raids. And you can get a lot of healing due to Carnage's passive. But with the way that this team is now working with Scream and the ISO8s, I'm not really seeing this as much of anything, you know. And Yeti and I had a big difference on this last time, and you'll see his comment is this is a great example of where this used to be highest priority upgrade for Venom prior to ISO8, but now is near obsolete. The increased 5% heal to 15% heal on a turn is cool, but the healer class is basically upgrade, or has simply replaced this upgrade. And I totally agree. It's just, it's not there. Coming in at 19 on and this is Scream's passive. On my comment is, it's talking about how on the death of a character you heal all symbiotes for an additional 5%. This was an ability that at first glance seemed like a must-have T4, But with all the turns healing, and especially you go with the ISO8 healer class here, it's not needed at all. It's very, very similar. So it's kind of like, first is like Minerva for everybody. You'd think you want more of that, but in this, I don't see it. Yeti's comment is, this is another low impact passive in the current gameplay with ISO8, surprisingly for a new character release. This is a 5% increase heal from 5 to 10%. So, seems great, but with ISO8, depending what you're doing there, maybe not necessarily needed. Coming in at 18, we both have Carnage's ultimate. This is where you get the additional 80% piercing. It is a huge piercing increase. It's turn 1 ult, you know, but it's a long cooldown. Yeti's comment here is talking about the 80% piercing being savage, the long cooldown as well. And if you're using symbiotes in raids or dark dimension, you should be able to manage your cooldowns and have this ready at the start of each node. So not bad, but the long cooldown, it's kind of like, all right, let's see how this is going to play out. You know, if you manage right, you're fine. Coming in number 17, Venom's ultimate. You know, it's ranked 114 on the damage increase. My comment is simply, it's an okay damage increase. That's it. Yeti's comment is, this was easily his favorite ability mechanic in MSF for a long time until Hela came along, but he still used a lot of sentiment for the spread mechanic. While the ability already does a lot with the negative effects, the 50% damage increase to primary target and 40% to secondary is still showing to be a good ability. At 16, we both have Carnage's special, which is ranked as 57 as far as damage goes in the game, and it is a big damage increase, is my comment, though I don't like the fact that it clears the debuffs, which obviously I get that it does. It's great for kill shots. You know, and then Yeti's comment here is, he calls this Carnage's execute, and when upgraded, you could actually absolutely see that. The 70% damage increase to the primary and adjacent targets is stellar. But if you manage the negative effects and then use this special, you will see some of the largest attacks in MSF gameplay. Give it a try and record it. And I've definitely gotten some images of this, like a million. Like I think the highest one I saw was like 1.4 million or something crazy. Coming in at number 15, we both have Scream Special. This is ranked as 110 on the damage scale. It's 40% increase to 40% damage increase to primary and secondary targets, and you're clearing an additional positive effect on the primary and secondary targets. Turn 1 ability. I really wanted to rank this one higher. It's mainly because of the additional positive clear, but there's so many other ones that were good, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Yeti's comment here is that the damage increase of 40% is nothing to write home about, but clearing 2 positive effects on primary and secondary targets is astounding. This is just another ability on how Scream can hard counter teams that like to hide under stealth. At 15, we both have Venom's basic, which is ranked as 115 in the game as far as the damage increase. My comment is really simple. It's just an okay damage increase. But what I will say that I don't have written here is that given how often you use this, especially if you go the striker route on him for ISO8, this could be a must-do ability for you, especially if you've got a big Venom, because those bleeds, you're going to be stacking them up. Yeti's comment here is, his view on this upgrade has changed with ISO8. Wow. The 50% damage increase is always great, and when paired with Venom's focus and the fact that it cannot be dodged, has always made this a mediocre upgrade. When you factor in ISO8 Striker class, this starts to shine in a whole new light, as the extra attacks will also be able to flip positive effects to negative effects. And that's what we're talking about there. When someone gets that vulnerable above their head, and he gets the basic and does another additional hit on them, you put more bleeds, more negative effects, and you're flipping additional positive effects. So it's a great upgrade there. Coming in at 13, we both have Carnage's basic. It's a 50% damage increase to primary and secondary. What I liked about this is that you typically use this ability a lot for Carnage because you're trying to spread effects and you're really not doing that execute or his ultimate all that often, because you want to save that ultimate to make sure you have it ready for the next node or wave or whatever you've got coming. Yeti's comment here is, most times with Carnage, even if you have ultimate or special available, you will get more benefit from using the basic. The increase of 50% damage is nice, but spreading 2 negative effects to adjacent opponents is almost to be the better option. And that's what I'm talking about there a little bit with that, you know, where you're not going to necessarily use the special or ultimate, because you really want to use that basic to spread more positive effects throughout. Coming in number 12, we both have Venom Special. Comes in, and I didn't mention this, or maybe I did, but Carnage was ranked 125 in the damage ranks. Venom Special is ranked 113. It's 50% additional damage, you're getting the 3 bleeds for an additional 2 turns as opposed to just 1 turn. So it's a nice damage increase, but I really like the bleeds on there, the 2-turn bleed. Yeti's comment here is he loves how strong this ability is. The 50% damage increase is great, and the 3 applications of bleed for 2 turns is incredible. It just goes to show that even with how strong this ability is, it's not even in the top 50% of the team, which is kind of crazy. All right, coming in at number 11, we both have Anti-Venom's Basic. This comes in ranked at 123 as far as the damage rankings go. It's a 50% damage increase and applying additional, so from 1 to 2, of the opposite random positive effect on this target to primary. So if there's a bleed, you get a regen type of thing. So it's giving you a 2 effects as opposed to just 1. Heal the most injured non-summon ally for an additional 5% of this character's match HP. So you're getting additional damage, you're getting additional effect, and you're healing for more on this, which is crazy. And then you're clearing the heal block. Unfortunately, the clearing of the heal block happens after the heal. Kind of stinks, but at least it's an additional negative cleanse. This is all about getting more positive effects on Anti-Venom. You want him to have as many as possible to spread around with the other symbiotes, which we'll get to in one of his other abilities in a minute. Given the long cooldowns on special and alt, this will get used a lot. So again, that seems to be pretty consistent with the symbiotes, is that you're really using a lot of their basic abilities because you don't necessarily want to use their specials or their alts because of long cooldowns, or making sure you've got them primed for the next node. Yeti's comment, another ability that is not straightforward, you don't say. The mechanic where Anti-Venom can transfer the opposite of a positive effect to the primary target is such an interesting addition to the game. The increased damage is again expected at 50%, but applying opposite of 2 random positive effects from Anti-Venom to the target as negative effects is intense. This is a new and crazy basic that makes almost all the other basics of the symbiotes look paltry in comparison. And it is. It's a pretty cool dynamic in the game. I personally really like it. I love where the direction they went with that one. Coming in number 10, Symbiote Spider-Man Special, which is ranked 94th in the game as far as damage. It's an additional 40% to primary and adjacents. And you're increasing the duration of all their negative effects. You're now given a guaranteed chance to get the bleed on each of the targets, which before it was not, as a 50% chance. So you love the guaranteed debuffs there. Yeti's comment is, this is Symbiote Spider-Man's lowest ranked ability, and it's still ahead of so many of the rest of the team. The 40% damage increase is great, but not only that, the bleed that is always applied gives more fuel for teammates like Carnage to spread. Coming in at number 9 is Scream's Basic. This is ranked 59th in the game, so a very good and very nice damage increase. It's 50% to primary and secondary targets, and there's 2 secondaries. Plus, it now applies bleed to the secondary target. So you really like the fact that you get that bleed on the secondary targets, which this team just feeds off negative effects. This is a great upgrade in my opinion. The damage is really good and the additional negative effects help with the healing. Yeti's comment here is symbiotes abuse speed. This is one aspect of their control, the other is bleeds. Once you upgrade this, Scream becomes a much more consistent damage dealer. Another 50% upgrade in damage, but the key point here is the bleed applied to all secondary targets as well. Now, and I also personally admit, I actually did this one before some of the other abilities that we even have above this. But, you know, it's kind of, so a lot of them are going to be Anti-Venom as you see here. I loved this upgrade on Scream's Basic, again, because you're using it so often. So coming in at number 8, we've got the Anti-Venom Ultimate, which is ranked 124th. It gives a 50% additional damage to primary, plus 1 more regen. Spread all positive effects up from 2 to self and all symbiote allies. So when he uses this, he's going to take all positive effects and spread them to all the other symbiotes, as opposed to taking just 2 positive effects and spreading those to all symbiotes. Now, depending how many positive effects he ends up having on himself, this is going to be huge, and I could see it being even more important. It does have a long cooldown, but it's a nice ability anytime you get something to spread everything. Makes this team that much better. However, it is a 7-turn cooldown, which is crazy high. The timing of the special to make sure that the energy helps build on this one is critical. Do not waste that battery, and we'll get into his special in a second. Basically, he gives himself energy, so you kind of want to make sure you use that ultimate before using the special so that you can get to the ultimate quicker. In theory, I suppose. Yeti's comment is, this is essentially a new mechanic for us where it grants positive effects that are opposite of what the Symbiote team has loaded into the target. I expect some seriously awesome footage to showcase what this team can do. Add into that this grants 2 regeneration healing, as well as spreading all positive effects from self to all symbiote allies. Yes, this character is out of control, which I do admit I do like what I see about Anti-Venom. I'm really excited to get him on the team. Coming in at number 7 is Scream's ultimate. It is ranked 60th in the game as far as damage. It's an additional 50% to primary and secondary targets, and it's applying slow for 1 additional turn, so 2 turns instead of 1, and that's to primary and secondary as well. It's a turn 2 ability. I love the additional slows for that additional turn here, but it could see an argument that is excessive given the ability to spread and get Symbiote Spider-Man's ultimates to slow. You know, so if someone's like, well, I don't need the slow, okay, I get that. I know what you're saying. I still made this one of my first upgrades, and slow is critical to the team's success. Given the high damage increase, it was enough for me to consider it essential. So combine all those things, that's where I was like, that's where I'm at. Yeti's comment was, this was my first T4 for Scream, and I really think it should be yours as well. The symbiotes are really good at abusing kill speed, mostly in the form of Carnage passive T4s, but this upgrade also allows you to reinforce an even better buffer between the enemies and yourself. The 2-turn slow to all targets is just simply amazing. The 50% damage upgrade seems to be in line with the recent T4 abilities, but this is a must-have upgrade. And I will say, for using this team so much in raids, there are times, even in later nodes in Ultimate 7.5, that the AI is not even taking a turn. Because there's so much slow out there, I'm spreading so much and I'm getting so much speed up, they don't get to go. It's crazy. So having those cooldowns lined up, having the right T4s are critical. Coming in number 6 is Symbiote Spider-Man's ultimate. This is ranked 94th in damage. It is a turn 3. It's 40% damage to primary and additional 40% damage to all other targets. It's also one of those abilities that applies an additional turn of slow. So instead of 1 turn of slow, you get 2 turns of slow. The 2-turn slow is another speed aspect that you basically want to help these guys dominate. I rank this higher than Scream's ultimate because it hits everybody as opposed to just kind of the adjacents. Yeti's comment here is, when you upgrade this ability, you're getting a considerable 40% damage increase across all of the enemies, including those that would usually dodge. What I always rely on with this ability is the fact that all the enemies are going to be slowed for 2 turns, and that part of it is amazing. Coming in number 5 is Symbiote Spider-Man's basic. It's ranked 220 as far as the damage increases. And even though the corrections on this T4 has decreased its value, I still believe getting as many defense downs out there is critical. Getting 2 turns of defense down on all targets, hit for a team that relies on debuffs, you kind of like that, right? An additional 20% damage to primary, and then he talks about exactly what the ability is, and it is that 20% damage, and then applying the defense down for 2 turns on the adjacent targets is really what, you know, the T4 is going to bring you. Yeti's comment here is, with how often this partial team is landing negative effects on the enemies, this basic is constantly landing defense down on the targets to make your own job easier. The damage increase is pitiful, but the fact that the defense down is applied for 2 turns, glorious. Do not skip this upgrade. Coming in number 4 is the aforementioned Anti-Venom special. This one, and again, Yeti and I have it at the same ranking. Heal all allies for an additional 5% of this character's max HP, so for 20%. Revive a dead symbiote ally for an additional 30% of their base HP for 60%. And for me, that's huge. Instead of 30%, you get 60% of HP. And with a team that can heal so quickly, you want to make sure that there's not going to be some burst that instantly makes that revive go away. This is turn 1. This is all about getting that extra 30% to this symbiote, like I mentioned. Yeti's comment is, this ability is straight bonkers. Healing all allies with an additional 5% is great when you realize this is now now 20% heal. What I really love about this is that if there is a dead symbiote ally, they revive at 60% health. However, in the circumstances, if there's no one alive, you get 3 energy. That's pretty awesome. This is an ability. This is better than Minerva Revive in every possible way. Next up is Anti-Venom's passive at number 3. On turn, clear 1 negative effect from the most injured ally. If that ally is a symbiote, then clear 1 negative effect from all other symbiote allies up from 2 most injured. So this is huge. So instead of clearing just on, 1 negative effect or on 2 of the most injured, it's all symbiote allies. So this is You want this so that you can cleanse the negative effects. This is the biggest thing missing from the Symbiote team. And as this guy goes and speeds up, for those of you who are using the Ice Cream team, which is symbiotes with Emma, Ice Cream, Ice, anyway. So, you know, a lot of what you do is make sure you use her special when there's a lot of negative effects. That goes away because of this passive, because he's just going to be cleansing things, which is awesome. And they're going to be going so fast, he's going to just constantly cleanse it. Whereas Emma, you've got to wait. She's going slower than the rest of the team. My final comment on this is just clearing negative effects from all his symbiotes is the biggest thing holding the team back. Need this for all to cleanse all the symbiotes. Yeti's comment here is, admittedly, he had to read this ability more than once. On each Anti-Venom turn, the passive looks to clear one negative effect from an injured ally. Does not need to be a symbiote. But if that ally is a symbiote, it will clear one negative effect from all symbiote allies. I'm always a big fan of ability upgrades that say all. They're very reliable. So that one is really about that, where it's all about getting all of them. Coming in number 2 is the Symbiote Spider-Man passive, where you get an additional 20% max HP to self and all Hero Spider-Verse and symbiote allies for a total of 30%. That's absolutely gigantic. Helps his team heal more in the raids in Dark Dimension with the different passives that are kind of going on here. So you definitely want that max HP there because it heals when a negative effect is applied. So, you know, you want that HP there. This gives the 3% of the character's max health for that negative effect. And then on top of that, you're already knowing you're getting 100% drain for self and symbiote allies. So this ability to get that max HP, and when negative effects are applied, he's healing for that 3% of this character's max health. You're getting that 3% higher. And it is insane how much these guys heal, especially when you throw ISO8 into the picture. Yeti's comment in Raid and Dark Dimension, the gain of 20% max health for the Hero Spider-Verse and symbiote allies is very noticeable. Not a flashy upgrade, but this is just another T4 that the symbiotes need to stay in the fight to keep winning. So the number 1 is the same that we had in that early one. It stays Carnage passive. The additional 10% speed bar increase when an enemy drops below 20% HP for self and all symbiote allies is a huge part of this team and making them dominate. When that 300 speed bar goes up and over and over and over and over and over, it is absolutely monumental. It's huge. It helps them keep pumping those negative effects out there. Yeti's comment, filling the speed bar by 10% does not sound sexy, but truly this is the engine for the team. Regardless of the game mode, this is how they effectively self-cleanse of negative effects. This is how they heal themselves in every game mode outside of Raids and Dark Dimension. So that's the T4s. So now let's check out the ISO8. We've essentially, Yeti and myself have both kind of given a comment overall as the team and talked about the potential classes you can make this squad. What I've got listed is Healer is number 1, and then as number 2, a mix of Skirmisher Strikers. I also have questioned as number 3, and I'll get to this, and this is why the infographic looks like this, is Fortifiers. Now, I'm questioning a little bit. I mentioned this in a video that I did with McMull a while back. If this fortification on the first turn allows this team to survive easily on those high impact nodes, you know, the O Brothers, the Fury, boss nodes, where you're getting that heavy damage real early in the match, and you typically need a yo-yo or a shuri to help defend against it. If the fortification helps them survive that, I might argue that that might be the right way to go. But we don't know yet because we don't have the entire team, and it's kind of like, do you want to spend... I haven't theory crafted it. So right now, it's a big question mark. I think that it's something that at some point we'll check out. Just wanted to mention it in the video for now. My comment here is this team could go a few different ways. You can go full heal to make sure you stay topped off, Fortifier to make sure they're shielded nonstop and potentially able to survive that initial burst. It's not worth it if you're not able to survive that initial burst, in my opinion. Or you could even have a mix of Skirmisher, Raiders, Strikers to extra damage, healing, and hits. I can't say any of these are bad, to be honest. I personally think Fortifier would be an ideal goal, but you need to get to level 5 to handle the harder nodes. And again, it needs to be theory crafted and actually tested in game, because ultimately you're only going to get a 60k barrier, and some people in this game are hitting for 200k. You know, that Korath ult all out of the gate, that hurts bad. So anyway, that's why I listed it there. Yeti's comment here, and he's got Healer as number 1 and the Skirmisher Strikers as number 2. He's not a fan of the Fortifier route that I've mentioned. He thinks the mix of these ISO8 classes will be the most efficient down the road. But since most of us do not have level 5 ISO 8 yet, this is not happening in the next couple weeks. He thinks that Venom, Scream, and Anti-Venom have the best effects during basic attacks, and that they should be strikers. He's leveraging level 3 ISO 8 healer class for the Symbiote team and Ultimus 7 difficulty 5 at 100% daily. And it has been rock steady. This configuration allows him to one-shot all the way up to shields up with no roster substitutions, which is honestly super impressive. I'm personally one-shotting everything except for the Oh Brother and the Fury boss node. So that's where I struggle come in, and that's where I started looking at fortifiers. And again, the way we shake out each one of these guys is Symbiote Spider-Man, I said is Skirmisher, and Yeti and I are both on the same page for each one of these. I give myself some comments here that I just want to mention to you guys. I say Symbiote Spider-Man is a Skirmisher because he will not stack the additional defensive downs, but I do like the Raider but I don't like the Raider with the lower crit chances. So you want to give him somebody that can put the vulnerable on so that the strikers are able to do that additional attack. And he's one of the faster characters, so when this team gets those multi-kills, him and Carnage are the first ones to go and could put those vulnerables out wherever you need them so that the strikers, when they go, they can get that double hit when it's their turn. Carnage, same concept. He does not get the gains like the other symbiotes do on hitting on the primary, so I stuck him with Skirmisher. Scream, Venom, and Anti-Venom are all strikers for essentially the same reason. Their basics are going to do an additional bleed or additional flip of a positive effect. Anti-Venom also gives the fact where he's get that two opposite positive effect situation. So you want these guys to be able to get that double hit in, so they're doing the double take on their basics. So you want these three as strikers, you want Symbiote, Spider-Man, and Carnage as skirmishers. So that's what we got. So what do you guys think? Are we on the right page here? Is this what you guys were doing with your ISO 8s? Is this where you're at with your T4s? It's a little bit longer of a video for this stuff, but I wanted to go through it in detail. Wanted to talk about it a little bit. As people get used to what the infographic's going to look like, probably shorten it up a little bit, and I won't go through it as much on the front end, but I wanted to do it for this initial one. And like I mentioned, you can now see that I've gone through those ISO 8s where you can see, we've actually mentioned raid specific healer, war specific striker or skirmisher, depending on what we ended up saying in there. And then the question mark was fortifier because we don't know yet. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, I kind of want to test it before I absolutely recommend it, but I want to mention it. If you're someone out there who's like, you know what, I've got 5 crystals on these, I've got tons of these ion charge, I'm going to try it out. And if you do, come by the Discord, share a video. Let us know how it goes for you. Or say, it was a total disaster. Tell no one else about that. We'll take it off the list if it seems like it's terrible. But it's something that I think it's worth mentioning. So appreciate you guys stopping by. As I mentioned before, all of our Discord links are in the description below. The Patreon account helps fund these efforts to support, all the things that Punk specifically does behind these infographics, puts a lot of work into it. So your support is very much appreciated. Share with your alliance mates, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandpas, all those people. Like to mention them. Hammer down that like button, subscription bell, notification button. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.